President Biden has left for Israel. It comes as a senior administration official confirms to CBS News that the president's meeting with Arab leaders in Jordan has been called off, saying it was a mutual decision. CBS News senior White House correspondent Weija Jiang joins us now from the White House. Weija, good to see you. Given some of the volatility in the region, why does the White House think now is the time to go?
Well, one of the big reasons they cited was that this was the right time to talk to leaders in the region about the humanitarian crisis that continues to unfold. And when you remove that portion out, then what is left? Well, the president still wants to send a message in person, the same one that he has been saying since day one of the attacks on Israelis, that the U.S. stands beside you and will continue to support you through this. In fact, we just learned today that Israel has requested $10 billion of emergency aid from the U.S., and that is under consideration as part of a broader aid package that the White House is trying to put together, along with, of course, Congress, that will have to ultimately pass it or not pass it because, of course, as you very well know, there's so much friction there when it comes to this aid, not only for Israel, but for Ukraine, for border security, for Indo-Pacific countries like Taiwan.
All right. Weija Jiang at the White House tonight. Thank you so much.
Sure.
We're now joined by CBS News foreign correspondent Roxana Saberi. She joins us with the very latest from Tel Aviv, Israel. Roxana, you were in northern Israel today. What is the situation like there?
Yeah, Nicole, we were up there earlier today. It's very tense. Now, people who live along Israel's border with Lebanon are used to tensions, especially because they've had a history of tensions with Lebanon's Hezbollah, most notably a war in 2006. Yesterday, 28 communities along Israel's northern border, within 1 mile of that border, were ordered to evacuate. We met several members of one of those communities. They lived in a kibbutz called Iftah. They had fled to a hotel dozens of miles away in search of safety. Now, that's as Hezbollah and Israel have exchanged fire in recent days. Hezbollah claims it fired anti-tank missiles from Lebanon into northern Israel today, and Israel says it killed 4 militants trying to plant explosives on a border wall coming from Lebanon. Now, these are just the latest in a series of skirmishes in the past few days between the two foes. Nicole?
And what more can you tell us about some of the reinforcements that the Israeli military has sent to the northern border?
Yeah, as these tensions have been rising between Lebanon's Hezbollah and Israel, we saw some of the roughly 360,000 Israeli reserve soldiers that are being mobilized across the country in response to the October 7th attack by Hamas in that northern area. We saw some tanks, Humvees, other military vehicles, some cannons, several troops about 6 miles south of the border that Israel shares with Lebanon. We spoke with one officer who said his troops believe that their major threat right now in their area is Hezbollah firing anti-tank missiles across the border. There is a widespread concern that Hezbollah could open another front in this conflict against Israel. Hezbollah is thought to have an arsenal of tens of thousands of rockets and missiles that could hit anywhere here in Israel. And, of course, it's supported by Iran, which also supports Hamas. Iran's foreign minister has warned that what he calls the axis of resistance would open multiple fronts against Israel if it continues to kill civilians in Gaza. But Israel's prime minister and President Biden have warned Iran and Hezbollah not to get involved. Nicole?
And I know, Roxana, you've also been speaking to residents, including some who did flee north. What are they telling you?
Yes, some of those residents told us, members of their communities, some of those members had fled shortly after the October 7th attacks on southern Israel because they were worried, and many are still worried, that what had happened in southern Israel could happen to their communities in the northern part of the country with attacks by Hezbollah. They told us they're grateful to now have a safer place to stay. Many of those residents have moved to hotels and safer locations farther inside Israel. And they're trying to create this sense of normalcy, especially for children who were forced to evacuate their homes. We saw kids playing with blowing bubbles, playing games, playing with toys, families eating meals together. We did ask a couple of the adults what they thought of what they're seeing going on in Gaza with all the casualties. And they said they don't want any more innocent deaths on either side, but they also want Hamas to be eliminated, and they want to feel secure, and they want their children to be safe. So there is no easy answer, Nicole.
All right, Roxana Saberi, thank you so much for your reporting, and stay safe.